Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing the trend, we're talking about a team that had a first round draft pick, and we've done 10 of the top 11, besides the Warriors, waiting for Clay's injury news. But with the 12th team in the draft, we got the Sacramento Kings, drafted Tyrese Haliburton, one of the better picks of the first round, drafted Robert Woodard, one of the better picks of the second round, and drafted Jamius Ramsey. He's okay. So those are kind of my quick, very short thoughts on those guys. But before I talk more about them, I want to remind you to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm appreciating all the support I've been getting lately, and I hope to see that continue. Without further ado, let's get in depth with the Sacramento Kings. And they did not Kangs this. They did pretty good. They had one of the better drafts out of any team in the entire NBA. I don't think that is debatable. They stayed, or actually in the case of their second round pick, they traded back and got Robert Woodard, who was a guy I had a first round grade on. I think he was 27th on my big board due to his ability as a versatile defensive player who has shown an ability to shoot the jumper and is super athletic and will be an elite transition player for that reason. And I just believe in the 3-and-D, and I think that he's going to be very useful in that role. So for that reason, I think he was an absolute steal at 40, and it was one of the best picks, if not the best pick of the second round. Jamius Ramsey, the other second round pick, don't love it as much. He's a wing, similar to Woodard, but he's very different. Ramsey is a scoring-focused player, and I'm not sure that scoring is going to translate to the NBA level. I don't think that he has enough burst to get to the rim at an elite level. The shooting isn't terrific, and even the level he did shoot it at in college, I'm not sure I buy him as that type of shooter. And on defense, he's very lackluster and has a lot of room to improve. He was bad enough that he couldn't even play during crunch time with Texas A&M this past season, so he's got or Texas Tech, not Texas A&M, excuse me. So yeah. Lots of room to grow for Ramsey, but I'm okay with them taking a shot at him in the second round. It's not going to hurt the way I think about this draft for the Kings because, there's a chance that he works out and becomes a decent scoring wing off the bench, and it's not like they took him in the first round. They took him at like 43. So, solid pick there. Good pick with Woodard, but the pick that really gets me excited is Tyrese Haliburton. I think he's a perfect guy to add into this backcourt rotation alongside De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield. He can play with Fox because he has an ability to play off the ball, space the floor with his ability as a catch-and-shoot type guy, and be able to attack closeouts once Fox creates that primary action. He's able to attack the closeouts and create some secondary penetration where he can either get into his mid-range game where he's very efficient or make a play for his teammates and kick it out to the three-point line or find a big man rolling to the rim for a lob. He's very talented. Very good offensive player, efficient three-point shooter, good playmaker, and for all those reasons, I think he's going to fit very well alongside De'Aaron Fox, but I also think he's going to fit alongside Buddy Hield because there is potential for him to be the primary playmaker on the court at times. Buddy Hield has always struggled with that. Where he's at his best is just as a straight scorer, and when De'Aaron Fox was off the court, he had the ball in his hands a little bit too much, and I think it's going to be better for him to have a guy like Haliburton who can come off the bench, handle the ball, make plays for him, create that action that can get Buddy Hield open. I think that it's going to be a perfect fit, and I just love it alongside Fox and Hield. Really, this team has a very intriguing young rotation now with really just a good young core. De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Haliburton, and Marvin Bagley form a really intriguing core to me, and if we can see Bagley get to the level that he was hyped up to before the draft, before all the injuries, then I think that this could be a super, super exciting team. I hope that they fire Luke Walton, and I hate saying that I hope that they fire somebody, but I think that what Luke did for this team last year was a net negative, and Alvin Gentry is the current associate head coach, so if Luke gets fired, that's who will take over. Gentry ran the fast break terrifically in New Orleans, and I think that if you bring him up, make him the head coach here in Sacramento, he can get this Kings team back to the Dave Yeager days when they were running gun, super fun, to have the fastest player in the league in De'Aaron Fox, and he just makes it so entertaining to watch. They've also got some solid depth pieces. Harrison Barnes is one of the better role players in the NBA. He does his job, plays good defense, spaces the floor, and can get a bucket uh, off of action, but for himself at times as well. He hasn't become the big wing scorer star that some people thought he would be coming out of uh, North Carolina, of course. But he has been a solid role player. He has a ring, and I think that he can help elevate this King and continue to make them better. Rashawn Holmes and Nemanja Bjelica are two more really solid role player types. So is Corey Joseph. Joseph is a solid floor general, your standard backup point guard, good ball handler, good playmaker, can shoot the three ball, and plays good defense. That's what you want from your backup, and Corey Joseph does it well. He's an especially good spot up three-point shooter, so that will make him very valuable as a guy playing alongside De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton. I think that it'll be a priority for the Kings to have either Haliburton or Fox on the floor at all times, while they will also play alongside each other as well. It'll be very interesting to see Nemanja Bjelica be out there with them, spacing the floor and being another guy who can make really good plays on the offensive end from a forward position. Rashawn Holmes is a standard center who is pretty much average starting center in the NBA, and that's not a bad thing. He can catch lobs and finish. He has some game in like the mid-range, but he hasn't really spaced it out to the three-point line yet. He's a good rebounder, and he's a good rim protector. So overall, these are good role players. They just need De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley to take that step forward and become stars. And if they can do that, that's where this team becomes dangerous. Next year, I think this is probably going to be a team that can contend for the 8th seed. At this point, like, I think that I can't do it, but are they that much worse than the Suns? Like, they have so much depth. Let's see. How many guys would I be comfortable in a playoff rotation with this team? De'Aaron Fox, Corey Joseph, Buddy Hield, Tyrese Haliburton, Harrison Barnes, Robert Woodard, maybe Marvin Bagley, Nemanja Bjelica, and Rashawn Holmes. So that's already 8 to 9 guys, and that's without addressing free agency where they do have the full mid-level available to them. I think they should really be targeting a wing here. Justin Holiday would make sense. Jay Crowder would make sense. Derrick Jones Jr. would make sense. Those are guys that I talk about with every single team, but that's just because their game is so translatable. They can play in any system because they just really fill a need that is needed throughout the NBA as guys who can shoot the three and play good defense at the wing position. I think Holiday would be my favorite guy for the Kings because of his above average three-point shot instead of the other two, which are slightly below average. Obviously, Jay Crowder shot the ball great in the bubble, but he was one of the worst shooters in the entire NBA throughout the regular season, so I don't really trust it, and I would not bet on him to replicate that bubble production that he had throughout an entire season. So I would probably favor Justin Holiday in that way, but Derrick Jones Jr. also has the age advantage on the other two who are in their 30s. Derrick Jones Jr. is only 23, so he has lots of room to grow. If you're signing him to a 4-year deal, then you're getting him for all of his prime years, and if he can develop a jump shot, he could be a super nice value guy on the mid-level. I think that if you can get him mid-level exception for 4 seasons, that's definitely a deal I would do if I were the Kings because I think he could be a really solid fit for them. Nemanja Bjelica is on the last year of his deal. He could take over as a backup wing there. Robert Woodard might not be ready to play as a backup wing immediately. They're probably going to lose. Bogdanovic is another guy who can play those positions, so I think DJJ could be a really nice option for them to add. But Justin Holiday would also work as the 3 and D floor spacer. Outside of that, I think bringing back Alex Holmes or Harry Giles to play the backup center spot in substitution for Sean Holmes could be a good deal. Giles is a guy that really they strangely did not exercise his player option for his 4th season, so he is an unrestricted free agent this year and they can't pay him more than $4 million. I'm sure they'll offer him that number to try to keep him around as a guy who could potentially, if he works out, become part of their young core. But there's also, I think, certainly a small chance that some other rebuilding team, think the Cavaliers, the Knicks, maybe the Hornets, could like a young big man who has flash potential and offer Harry Giles a offer sheet that is slightly above what the Kings can give him just to lure him away from Sacramento. If that is the case, Alex Len can be a solid backup center, can space the floor a little bit, and is a solid rim protector. He's not the fourth overall pick, which unfortunately he was with the Phoenix Suns drafting him there. But he is a guy who I believe is a good option as a backup center due to his floor spacing capabilities, and I would have some interest in bringing him back if I were the Kings. I think Yogi Ferrell will likely walk because they already have two good point guards in Fox and Joseph, and Haliburton can function as a combo guard, so there's not really a need to bring in that kind of third point guard if you're the Sacramento Kings. Kent Bazemore is an interesting option on the wing. He played well for them in limited minutes last season, so once again, he's a guy I could see bringing back. I wouldn't give him the entire mid-level because we saw him play pretty poorly when he was in Portland last year, but if he can replicate his Sacramento success, then he's definitely a rotation player and a guy that could really help you out on the wings. Corey Brewer, getting old, not much there. Bogdanovic is a guy that I would have interest in bringing in, but the guard rotation is getting crowded. So if you can manufacture a signing trade for him, I think that's probably the best case scenario, as I would honestly rather spend the mid-level exception on a 3-and-D wing type player, or at least a wing who can really guard, over a guy like Bogdanovic. I think I've covered pretty much everything I wanted to. Tyrese Haliburton, like I said, one of the better picks of the entire first round. I'm a Wisco boy, so I am a little biased towards Tyrese. Oshkosh is only about an hour away from where I live, so really cool to see a guy like that in the NBA. His jacket yesterday said 920 to the NBA, 920 being the area code. Yeah, I have that same area code, so I live in the same area code as a guy who's in the NBA. Just a little flex there. But yeah, I also really like the Robert Woodard pick. I think that was one of the best picks of the second round, like I said before. And Jahmi'us Ramsey is an alright shot to take in the second round. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the Sacramento Kings draft day excursions. Did you like them? Did you dislike them? Let me know. I'm sure you all like them because Tyrese Haliburton might be the steal of the draft right here. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Going to be plenty more where this came from coming out later on today. I think that's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all again very soon.